welcome to Beyond the Couch OT Stories. I am your host, Wendy, and I have the great pleasure of being with Tiara today.
Hi.
And so I'm going to let you take over. What is your topic today?
So my topic today is ADHD and OT.
Oh, love it. Something near and dear to my heart.
Mine too.
Yes. Okay, so let's delve right into it. What do you think? Well, first, let me start off with what made you choose this topic?
So my daughter has struggled with this at an early age, and as she's gotten older, I have seen that it's kind of not as simple as just, oh, they're hyper. I've had to witness kind of the struggles that she goes through at school.
Yeah.
And then just really trying to understand why sometimes. And as I look back, I'm realizing these are things that as much as she probably wants to control, she doesn't have as much control. One, because she's still a kid.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I know her little brain just goes haywire.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more, and I wish people had more knowledge.
So how old is she?
She is 9.
Okay.
She was diagnosed as early as 4. She did not start medications until last year.
Okay.
So I've always tried to take more of the natural approach. Hey, like, let's do different things, breathing techniques. But once I saw, like, hey, her focus is not in on school, and I know her intelligence level cannot be defined by these impulsive acts or, just her lack of focus.
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit more education on the medication. I'm not opposed to it. But I do not think that alone solves
you're right.
the issue.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, okay, well, let's delve into what you found in your research.
So, just one of the things that I like, just because we do it in our day-to-day, is like social skills training. That kind of correlates with the impulsiveness.
Mm-hmm.
She can hear things wrong or hear it right, but react immediately. And so just teaching her how to be socially appropriate, her brain kind of does before she does. It's like it's a speed. They're not lining up. And so I feel like any way that it can be incorporated, I wish the schools would incorporate more training for things like this, even if it's just taking the kids out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes to like a breakout session to just allow them to decompress. I think will be great, but the schools just are like, oh, what can we do to have them just sit there and focus better?
Exactly.
And I'm like, man, I really want to see more therapy, honestly. Like I said, 20 minutes to 30 minutes a day is like amazing for a child that age.
Yeah, so, I agree. Well, and I think the problem is that, the schools are required to teach this much curriculum with this little time, so it's definitely very challenging.
It is. And I know, again, being this age, school is life.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely very, very hard for these children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're the ones who are suffering.
They have to do it.
Yeah.
And then I try to, like, even at home, and then being an OTAS, like the things I've learned that I can help her with environmentally.
Okay.
So outside of just the school setting, I implement like timers.
Okay.
And to some, when I have a timer, I get anxious.
Okay.
But my daughter, Doors,
opposite?
yes. She is all about timers. Like,
Okay.
I need a timer. Can you put a timer here? Can you? She loves alarms, everything.
Oh, I
Like, it
love
just
it.
keeps her
Focus.
focused.
I love
And she's a very indecisive little girl. Like, if she doesn't have to make a choice, she won't. It cost her a lot. It's to her, it's like, why do you want, should I wear this dress or this dress? And I'm like, they're both very cute, you know. Well, I can't choose. Can you? And I noticed, like, it's just she really has trouble
So
making
she's got some
decisions.
anxiety too, it
Yes.
sounds like.
Yeah, and I think she fears like,
She's going to make a bad decision.
yep, all because she's dealt with ADHD for so long. It's just kind of
Of course.
impacted certain things, and so I try to encourage like that sense of independence. Like,
Yeah.
I like them both, but you tell me which one you
Exactly.
think, you know. And
Exactly.
we got to get ready for school, but this is your time limit, because if she does not have it, she will lose focus.
Oh,
And
wow.
what could be done in 30 minutes, it takes her a good hour
Oh, wow.
to
That's a
do
lot.
something. Mind you, you know, she's usually prepared the night before. It's just her attention to task is not.
Not what it should be.
It's not what it should be at 9. So,
Well, and I think that no matter what age, I think we all struggle with attention
Yeah.
at times, you know.
yeah.
So give her a little bit of break
True.
at 9. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, very true. And I agree. And I know, like, because kids are always, they're in that developmental stage, you know, in their childhood, that they try not to diagnose so early.
Yeah.
They like to see them like grow and just see how they turn out. But I don't think, you know, having ADHD is as much of a stigma as it was back when I was even
No.
a child.
No.
You know?
I don't think so either.
You get that diagnosis and parents are like, not my kid. Like,
Yeah,
no. Now I'm
exactly.
like, okay, like,
What
parents,
do we need to do?
what can we do?
That's
What can
right.
we do to make
That's
my
right.
life better and hers?
Exactly.
So early intervention,
helping make her successful.
yes,
Mhm.
yes, you know, and early intervention is key.
Yeah. I agree.
Gaining knowledge, so education and training.
Okay.
And that's not in community. So whatever pieces of support that you can get, I say utilize. So if there is a teacher that's willing to let her, you know, in the educational system, get the 504 plans if that's what your child needs.
So can you explain the 504 plan for our audience, for those who don't know what it is?
Yes, so the 504 plan is a legal document for the educational system to where they can accommodate certain things that a child may need. Examples, longer time on test, speech to text. So her testing, she's able to have it read to her.
Perfect.
Versus sitting there reading it, because she would not make it through the whole thing. She has a little wiggly cushion that she's able to put in her chair to limit her fidgeting.
Okay.
And also just placements in classrooms where they can be seated.
Okay.
What works best. So I think like having that 504 plan, I've had it since she was in pre-K.
Okay.
And it has followed her. And we reevaluate annually.
So what I want to just correct you on is it's actually a law.
Oh.
It's a law. Yeah. So it's a law that all children are equal to the best appropriate, I'm blanking out on the exact terminology, but the best possible education, free and reasonable education, and we want them to be with their peers for that role modeling aspect of it. So, yeah, so for sure.
Law to allow them to still be integrated. And like, you know, so I encourage anyone, you know, children, or if they have family members, to just like get some knowledge, because it's out there, and the more you know, the more
knowledge
beneficial
is power.
it is. It really is. And then I had I think to just myself. But I don't feel there are times where I give enough positive reinforcement.
Well, it's called life happens.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure.
And so I think having a child with ADHD or any child like that struggles with their own self, like their confidence and having to deal with that type of diagnosis, just always finding ways to like positively reinforce them. Hey, you did a good job. Because it's easy to get triggered when their attention span keeps going.
Well, does she accept the diagnosis?
She does now.
Okay.
Originally, she just didn't understand, and I got her into like, cognitive like therapy where she can talk about her feelings, and she's now able to kind of understand, hey, this is what I feel. There are things she still don't understand. Like, I don't know why I did that. Like, I don't know why I didn't pause.
I'm impressed at the age of 9. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Maybe it's the difference between boys and girls.
Yeah.
My son was nowhere near accepting at the age of 9. It was more middle school. It's when he was accepting of it.
And I wouldn't be surprised because, my son could possibly have it. I'm sure he does. We just have to go through the process. But I don't think he would be as accepting. Like, what? But she was so early with the diagnosis that I started early with trying to really explain things to her. Mm-hmm. She's so smart.
Is she your firstborn?
She's my firstborn.
Okay, so, well, that was really great that you were on top of it enough that you could understand that and get a hold of that. Because, a lot of the times the firstborn, like, things just kind of skirt past them, and they don't get as much focus and dedication as they should be.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like I was just very like intentional. I saw her through daycare, and I'm like, I know there's, she's small, but her actions and things are very excessive. And so once I got that diagnosis, I was able to just kind of work with her and instill in her at an early age, like all the different things that she's going to have to work on.
Well, you're good, Mama, that you were
able
to figure all of that out. I love it.
I was hands-on, and listen, I always say,
pre-OT before
there you go. And you never know the steps that are like placed for you. And then it was nursing, so to have it redirected. And so, overall, I just think that with ADHD, because it is like cognitive, their cognitive abilities and just the thoughts of impulsiveness and lack of focus or hyperactivity, I think definitely having I'm pro therapy, so having a therapist, to help express or just gather their thoughts at a young age.
And I think that the problem that I see in this setting is that a lot of parents don't understand or they don't know their rights. And so I think that when I'm talking with families, I'm saying, are they 504? And they're like, wait, what?
What is that?
Yeah, they have no idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of our job as therapists is to educate them and their parents about what rights do they have.
Yep.
And that's a huge part of it.
It really is. And like knowing your rights, knowing what you can contribute to your child's overall day-to-day, especially because majority of it is spent at school, is valuable because you don't want to just be told anything. Or, as I was saying previously, just that taboo stigma that was back then of ADHD meant your kid was bad or, something of that sort. So knowing and being aware of the laws and your rights and also contributing, being an active parent, is key. As much as you can, stand in communication, um, showing up to the art meetings, just really being present will go a long way. And your involvement kind of kicks into gear the involvement of the staff
I
at the
agree.
school.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you
You're
seem
the leader of it, right?
exactly,
Nobody's going to advocate for your child like you will.
very much so. And so that is definitely um a thing, and it's important. And I say, like, one of the things as OTs that has been like programmed into us is flexibility,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and so
exactly.
applying that to a child with ADHD, you're gonna have to be flexible. Things are gonna change around, things um, to accommodate their success, So that looks like, in our terms, upgrading and downgrading tasks,
yeah, that's right. That's right.
So you want to be able to adapt and
right.
be flexible and kind of become part of this child's brain and their little world as much as you can. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We all want our kids to be successful.
Very much so. And then just being an adult who has ADHD, I have coped because I've had to.
Okay.
But it's hard as an adult. So I look back to my childhood and I'm like, man, that was intense. And it affects you as an adult. So any contribution that I can give as an OTA and as a mother, to not have to put that complete responsibility on a child who's already just forever evolving, it kind of gives me a sense of relief because she's able to be a kid without feeling drastically indifferent. Like, she's still a part of her world at school. Like, she doesn't feel, too off base. Now, she may have actions that show it, but she has been equipped with enough tools at this point in her life to make it through fourth grade, to, understand her role as a student, as this little girl with ADHD and what that entails. And so even bringing that back to being an OTA, as future OTA, I just think it's gonna be great, and it's kind of like a soft spot for me, just because I want to see where we can go with this.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just want to think about, also think about aside from just the person with ADHD, just the parents are affected as well. The siblings.
Absolutely.
So just possibly starting to incorporate those, like, parent support groups, maybe through schools or even virtual, because technology is advancing. So having a virtual meeting, whether it's once a week or once a month, start small, but trust me, knowing that there's other parents out there who understand what I'm going through, makes me feel like, okay, you get it.
That's right. That's right. Been there, done that. Have a T-shirt.
Right? Exactly. And they have tips and things that maybe I haven't tried, but the knowledge and even the things I was very unaware of, like with ADHD, I did not find out until this program that is like separated. Like ADHD is, what is it?
They're hyperactive, and then there's the inattentive type.
Yeah.
And so, a funny story. My son was diagnosed with ADHD, and I looked at the doctor, and I was like, "What are you talking about? My child is the calmest child ever."
Right.
And he's like, "Oh no, he is the inattentive type." And I was like, well, what does that mean? And they're like, well, he doesn't pay attention to fine little details, and he just gets an overall
Mhm.
picture. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds more
So
like
that
my
makes
child.
sense.
Yes, yes.
And
So
that is
yeah,
neat. I just didn't know that.
yeah,
You put it all together like they're just hyper. That's all you
exactly.
hear. And I'm like, no,
Mhm.
it's a difference. And so that makes more sense to me now, where you have the hyperactivity and then the inattentive.
Yeah,
And when you break them or separate them, you're like, that makes sense.
yeah.
I can see that. So I think that's great. And then when it comes to like um even like her sensory processing things, I did not know that OT, occupational therapy, could have a focus based around ADHD.
Oh
Again,
yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew about autism. I knew all these other things. I don't know. I guess because society, in a sense, minimizes that ADHD, that I just thought was
Well, and I
something.
think that is when I am explaining to people what I do, I tell them I can go anywhere
Mhm.
in the world and make a job for myself.
There you
And
go.
that's why I love occupational therapy. It's client centered, it's
Hmm.
focused on the patient and what their deficits are. Yeah, we're in different settings,
Right.
but I can go anywhere and I can make a job for myself,
Yeah,
which is what I think is such a positive aspect of OT.
it is. It is. And like that that just like opened my world, of
Yeah.
course, to like, okay. So even seeking outside OT therapy for her,
Uh huh.
I'm not against it,
Yeah.
just because she does have the sensory processing. And I have my son who does see did see an OT. He had like the weighted vest.
Mhm.
And one day my
Yeah.
daughter put that on, and of course it was a short span because you don't want them to wear that too long. And
Mhm.
I think she wore it. I was like, oh, okay, you could wear it for like 10 minutes, but just to see the like,
Reaction.
yeah, like it was
Mhm.
very. She just seemed more centered.
I love it.
Um, and I was like, okay, like this may
Maybe
work.
you are. Yeah.
Like this may work. So her medicine wears off.
Okay.
That's the thing where I bring in medicine and then OT, because the medicine wears off. It's not
Yeah.
something that is gonna last her all day, prolonged. And
Yeah.
so you have this child who's, pretty semi focused when she has these meds in her system, but the moment it wears off, is full force.
Yeah.
And so just making sure she's equipped for the after effect.
Yeah.
Like once the
Exactly.
medicine wears off. And
Exactly.
that's where I say, like, bringing the OT experience, associated with the medicine, yes, but just having that holistic, natural teaching
Yeah.
to guide
Mhm.
her when she's not on that medicine, because
Yeah.
I don't give it to her
Yeah.
outside of school.
Okay.
It's just
Mhm.
for school.
Mhm.
And so to be able to say, okay, these are things we're going to do. Um, Breathing, it's odd because she sees a pulmonologist, but they had gave her breathing techniques for her vocal cords.
Okay.
It wasn't pulmonologist. Yeah, it was her ENT. The pulmonologist
Yeah.
referred her, but the ENT, and they gave her these things to train her vocal cords. But it's really neat because when she does them, it's also a calming factor for
Yeah.
the ADHD, because even going into that, she's extreme. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, we got to do these. And, it helps. So I think it's pretty neat to see what's out there. I think it's pretty neat how the brain works.
No, it's amazing how
You
the brain
know,
works.
how we're
Yeah.
all so
Forget the pretty
different.
neat. It's amazing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Like we're different. And
Mhm.
to see how we, react different, and nobody is the same. So yes, this child may
Exactly.
have ADHD and this child may have ADHD,
Exactly.
but they do show it
Differently.
differently.
Mhm. Yep.
And that's something new to me too, because I have categorized. Oh, if it's ADHD, this is what it's gonna look
Oh
like.
no
Woo, woo,
no
woo,
no
woo.
no. Yeah.
Yeah.
No two kids are alike. Even if they have the same medical diagnosis, nope, they're not alike at all.
Right. And so that's, important to know for all of us moving forward is we will not have clients that are identical,
That's right.
So I think doing my research more, even for this podcast, was like interesting. Like, oh, you can apply this to them. Okay, there are things, I don't know, that you just don't think about until you think about it.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, so you think pediatrics is your field?
I do. And it's expanding and it's growing. And I'm wanting to know more outside of just ADHD and autism. But I do know where my core lies.
Yeah. So, I think that this podcast has been very eye-opening to a lot of the students in that they've found some different avenues and different passions that, maybe there's a future in maybe coming up with something different,
Yep.
We had talked a couple of days ago about for a couple other students about maybe you need to create a 501c3 or maybe you need to focus on this.
Yeah.
So I think as with everything in school, it's all about how can we make it so that you're educated, because you can come in and you can say, I want to do pediatrics, boom, that's it, period, right? And then you get to working with a geriatric population and you're like, well, I had a student who said, I do not want to work with pediatrics, no. And she was assigned a field work 2 home health setting, and guess where she is now? Pediatrics. So she doesn't have kids, but so she's so it's really interesting. And I think that's partly why they expose you to all of the different populations.
Correct.
So that you're a well-rounded therapist that has knowledge in multiple areas and pockets.
Yes.
So you never know where it'll take you. Maybe you can do pediatrics on the side or geriatrics on the side or whatever.
I'm not against it because being a mom, I've thought about that. Do I really want to?
And I know it's kind of a nice break to get away from kids.
Exactly.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being so frank with us and being open to sharing your story. I think that's one of the nice things that I've noticed about this podcast is the passion that your class, your cohort has brought to this, and the personal aspect is what's going to make y'all great therapists.
We're excited.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for